You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Lindsay After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Lindsay After Show.
Hello, you are watching the Lindsay on Own After Show, Season 1, Episode 5. And I'm your host, Kylie Hodges, and with me...
Hello, Grant Rudder. Here I am again.
Thanks for joining me, Grant.
Thank you.
Now, you have to forgive me. I'm a little raspy. I spent a weekend in San Diego, and I got a little fired up watching the Final Four basketball games yesterday.
And my voice is even deeper because I'm sick, so...
So if you're listening, we don't sound recognizable, but we are the same two hosts you've heard every week.
It's really us. So Stephanie is away, but we miss her.
We miss Stephanie, but she'll be back with us next week. Now, let's get into things. Overall thoughts, Grant, what did you think of this episode?
I thought this episode was a complete mess.
Just
a total
like Lindsay
mess.
Lohan.
Just like the clothes all over the floor at her house. Between the mother, who I love, but just the way the mother was behaving, the way everybody's reaction is to just how they can't handle it anymore with her. I really felt from the beginning that when we came in to the reality of the situation with this apartment, her still moving in and everything, that everyone's level of tolerance and patience was like on the line, was on the brim, kind of. I just felt like people were just kind of like, something needs to change here. The crew, her team, everybody.
Absolutely. I think Lindsay has tested the patience of a lot of people. And last episode, she won everybody over. She won me over. And I know I was telling you right before we went on camera, I'm pissed at Lindsay. I feel like we're friends, and she betrayed me. She is not acting the way you want somebody who's recovering to act.
And she's making lousy business decisions. If her career is so important to her, and she's such a career person. A real career person wouldn't make those moves.
Absolutely. I think a good word to describe Lindsay is lazy. Here's why. We start the episode where Lindsay... Well, I'm going to switch things around a little bit. But I want to talk about first how Lindsay is trying to resell stuff, clothes, at this consignment shop right by her apartment so that she can make space for her furniture. Now, I believe at the beginning of the episode... when the furniture arrived, she slept until like 11 in the morning. Don't get me started on that. I'll save that for later. But that's one reason why I thought she was lazy. Then she goes to this consignment shop to sell back clothes because she needs the space and probably the money. And she goes down there, and wouldn't you know it, her and Dina are shopping.
Well, where did Dina come from?
Women be shopping. I don't know.
Dina appeared. She just rounded a corner, and there she was, all done up for the camera, ready to go. Although she actually was a little bit more, like, I think it was like Lululemon. Like, it was a little bit less turned
casual
on.
Dina.
Yes, casual.
The fake eyelashes, but the Lululemon.
Right. And Dina, who we've labeled as an enabler, and so has the press so many times. But you know, it's no secret I do love her. But she was in that store. Now this girl is trying to shed these clothes and make some room. She's got boxes coming down the road from New Jersey to get more clothes. And Dina's like, "Oh, isn't that cute? Oh, that would look really good on you. I really want that." And like there she is.
And what does that go back to? The mother, the enabler.
Yep.
It's unreal. Who's the adult?
My mother would never do that. If I had half those clothes, like, get this, throw this out. You don't need this. This is ridiculous. You're not going down there. Don't be buying any of this. My mother would have no patience.
So I was paying attention to the numbers, and it sounds like Lindsay didn't do as much damage as they made it seem, but she still did a little damage. So she sold back she sold back $4,500 worth of stuff, and she only spent $391. So I feel like to a major movie star like Lindsay Lohan, $400 is chump. Definitely had to pick her battles, and that might have been a situation where AJ was like, you know what?
She's trying
Not
to give
the
her
end
the
of the world.
space. You know, that was the theme, and they eventually kind of have to like push her out into the real world. But this girl.
Now, we had a moment where we saw Lindsay get on the phone. Sounds like she knows what she's doing. She sounds like she understands this industry. She knows that her.
But that's business. These
is.
people have big money tied up into these projects. I mean, that's just you're gonna.
And it sounds like they had a great conversation. Lindsay came back crying, and she said that they prayed together, which if some stranger tried to pray with me on the phone, I'd be like,
I mean, we both
this is
work in the
cool."
industry. I can't imagine doing that with anybody.
yeah, this is a godless industry.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah, it was strange, but it was a nice strange. I would rather Lindsay has strange moments like praying with strangers than being a diva to her life coach, which I will get into later.
Right. Yeah. So this guy couldn't have been nicer. Super helpful. Seemed it. You know,
Yes.
seemed genuine. Believed in her. Wants to go to bat for her. And now what? Keep going.
So then they make plans for Lindsay to go meet with this person in LA, which is awesome, cool, great job, Lindsay. But then Lindsay's furniture arrives. And Matt says, I don't know if this is a real number, but oh my God, 19,000 pounds worth of stuff comes out of that moving truck. Oh my God.
It could have been more.
I
It could have
had
been
an
19
anxiety
tons.
attack watching this. And we were talking during the commercial breaks about this moving situation. Everybody was stressed, and with good reason. There was no thought or management in the moving. I mean, I know that it sounds like they attempted to have some organization where Matt prefaced the moving scene with some of the stuff is coming into Lindsay's apartment and some of it's going to Long Island. But they kind of just let the movers unload, and it was boxes and boxes of clothes, and there was no room for even a couch.
I didn't think it was organized at all.
No.
I didn't think there should have been color-coded codes, master lists. I mean, I moved an office once, and I created my own system. I moved from the valley to over the hill, and I had one little box truck of stuff, and I still had everything organized. This girl's moving cross country with a bunch of stuff. I think she should have left half of it in LA and gotten rid of it.
I don't know why she didn't sell some of that
She
stuff.
doesn't have space in New York like she had in LA, and they mentioned something like that. Not only that, this is a girl who's trying to start over. There are things connected with pieces of furniture. You don't know what type of substances might have been around these pieces. Really though. So
crap.
I mean, just get it out of your life and start fresh. Plus,
I get that.
I mean, I'm all for an upgrade. I want to get new things all the time. I really don't want the same tired pieces of furniture following me across the country. No.
I hear you. I feel like, actually moving, when I moved from the Midwest to LA, I almost brought nothing because it would have cost so much more money to move my old Target crap out here than to just buy new Target crap out
That's
here.
it. Exactly. I mean, she's got, more money than you and I at the time. Although, who knows?
I really question her financial stability.
Yeah.
We don't really, we hear people hinting at things like, oh, Lindsay, you could, like Dina said, you could pocket $4,500 if you don't buy this stuff. But it doesn't seem like she's super stressed.
No. I don't know what's going on with the money.
It's so
Especially
strange.
because she's moving into this big, for New York, with a big, good-sized place.
Beautiful apartment.
And then Pilgrim, the production company of this mockumentary, or not mockumentary,
Documentary. She's only mocking herself.
yes. But the production company, they paid for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
it's like
Pilgrim paid for the move?
they for the actual condo.
Oh,
Didn't they
right,
up the
right.
money?
They
for her?
fronted the money for
So
her.
it's like, are you living beyond your means, Lindsay?
Probably.
Will you be moving in with Dina in Long Island in a year?
Dina's garage, because that's where all of Lindsay's furniture is.
No, I'll move in with Dina.
And
No.
can I would like to talk about something that the show glossed over. And I'm trying to figure out if this was the producer's choice or Lindsay put her finger in the edit bay and said, But they mentioned that there was a boy named Liam staying with her while she was moving, and she woke up at someone had to wake her up at 11 a.m. on moving day. People had been moving, lots of men moving big things into her apartment for hours, and she didn't wake up to that.
In her own
And then-
house.
Yeah.
They've got all the
you
stuff
don't hear
going
that,
on.
and you don't get up. And then there's a boy there Gee, I wonder why she was in her room so long.
He looked like 19.
Yes, he did.
He looked super young.
And his name was Liam, so I just assume he's like some rich, like, socialite who just knows her
She
from...
claims he was really helpful to me. He just sat around and
He didn't look
good.
very helpful on the balcony, sitting in
No.
a chair on his phone.
I didn't see him do anything. He wasn't chasing down a fitted sheet like they were trying to get into that truck. Can you imagine when they opened the doors to that truck? We both had the same reaction.
I might have peed my pants a little bit.
I mean, that was
truck
after...
was piled with stuff.
And that was after they unloaded it and reloaded the truck. And it was still a wall of boxes.
So I guess my question is Lindsay so much of a control freak that she demands to have her exact bedding on her bed? Like, why wouldn't they just go to Target and buy her a $15 fitted bed sheet to just get her by until they find her bedding?
Well, I mean, they're just putting her bed in now. She's been in this apartment now for quite some time. I mean, whatever she's sleeping on is probably, like, whatever she's sleeping on, this bed is an upgrade as it is. Do you need the fitted sheet right now? I mean,
Yeah.
I would probably demand it myself.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
go buy, you know what I mean? Like, just go buy a cheap one. I don't understand. It's very confusing. And poor Matt, who, by the way, is always wearing a suit.
He wasn't a black V-neck, though, for a
Yes,
minute. I
yes.
noticed that it was a little out of character. It was like, is this a
If
twin?
I was Lindsay Lohan's assistant, I would have bigger bags under my eyes, and I would be constantly in yoga pants and t-shirts.
Do
Because
you think
you never
that-
know?
Do you think that's a 7-day-a-week job?
Probably.
Like, I just can't imagine.
That's a great question. If anybody's watching and knows anything about what it's like to be an assistant to a celebrity, please comment below or even call in. We would love to hear about it because I am fascinated by Matt.
Depends what celebrity. I mean,
Okay.
because I know I've worked
Oh,
closely with
right.
Maria's assistant.
Right.
I
She
know
sounds like it would be much easier to be her assistant than Lindsay Lohan.
it's much easier to be her assistants in the sense that Maria's assistants get treated with respect and dignity and all
Yes.
those different things, and they get a lot of certain amount of power, and with that comes a lot of perks.
Yes.
But the hours are very long, and there's definitely a lot. I mean, Maria's schedule, like we joke about it, but if a flight is booked, it's inevitably going to change 10 times. So
Interesting.
and the cell phone's literally 24 hours a day on you because, with Maria, she's always doing something.
Right. And we both know Maria's assistant, and he's
Right.
great, and it sounds like he loves his job. So I feel like Maria's doing something right.
Right.
So I'm
Like, 'cause-
curious because this guy, Matt, who is Lindsay's assistant, Phil, he used to be Prince's assistant, and who else?
Steven Tyler.
Yep, Steven Tyler. And so I wonder, Matt has made it sound like Lindsay is the hardest he's
Here's
ever
the-
had to assist.
I mean,
so.
again, it's a matter of personality.
Yeah.
The thing, again, that's a little bit different with Lindsay. She's an actress / singer. With Maria, she's in the news business.
Yes.
So news never stops.
Yes.
So again, I can't say whose job is more difficult. I think it's just a matter of personality. Again, you can work 168 hours, which is in a week, which is the maximum you could work because that's the maximum hours.
I
but
was like, how long is that?
I know that's a long time. But if you enjoy doing the job, then it's not a big deal. But if you work 2 hours for someone and you hate them and they're an asshole to you, then it's no fun.
Ruins your day. Yeah, I feel like being an assistant is the kind of industry where you have to be prepared for anything and working all the time.
I mean, he's a go-getter. He's a total leader, and she just doesn't want to move.
yeah.
She doesn't want to even unpack. I mean, she doesn't want to do really much of anything. Imagine how frustrating that must be. And the hours. It seems like if he took a day away from her, which he probably does, but like, I mean, he moved across country for her, so he's serious. But I mean, to take a day, I feel like even if he took a day, he'd feel like he'd just lose so much
Right.
because is just so all over the place. I mean, she could really screw things up in an hour.
I can't.
I mean, again, because I can speak to this, your whole job as you kind of learn people's behaviors and their patterns, and so
Yeah.
your whole goal is to assist in their, job / sometimes even their personal life. And again, I don't really watch the show too much, but I've seen, bits and pieces. And when you work for someone like Lindsay, if there is no structure to their lives, then how are you supposed to, you can't
There's
come
no
up with a
structure to
system
your
for
life.
chaos.
Right.
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 That's it. I mean,
What a
there's
frustrating.
nothing.
And then somebody like AJ was brought into her life to bring structure, and it's just crumbling.
She's another one who's
Yes.
just kind of, she's had it, but in a very professional way.
I have so much to say about that. But before we go any further, Phil, I'm very glad you chimed in because guess what I want to tell you about?
What is that? I'm
The
intrigued.
AfterBuzz TV app. Do you guys have it on your
Yay!
phones?
I have it.
Awesome. You can, any phone, iPhone, Android, your iPad, whatever you got, a tablet, go to your app store and download the AfterBuzz TV app. It's free, and you can watch all of your favorite AfterBuzz after shows. You can watch us. You can favorite our show.
You can watch
it.
and listen to the podcast, right?
Yes, yes. So you can watch it on the bus. You can watch it in class, although I encourage you to listen to the teacher in class. But if you'd rather listen to us, that's great too. Did I sell you on it, Phil?
A little bit.
Oh,
a little
Just
bit.
a little bit.
Here's the thing, right? It's I've kind of it's secretly come out in the past week, and a lot of you have found it. So now this is kind of the official coming out party. A lot of you guys have been asking about where's the AfterBuzz app. So now we finally came out with it, and if you have it, let us know how it's working for you, what you guys would like to see. A lot of you guys have already commented about some cool features that I do want to develop, and if you haven't yet, do so. Check it out. I think it'll be the one-stop shop for all your favorite after shows.
It's great. I love it. I
That's
love
great.
it.
It's replaced the podcast app for me because I had to do a little too much searching and that.
Oh,
So now
yeah.
this is all right
It's
there.
very easy
so.
to navigate. You
Yes.
can just scroll right to the show you want, and it's all right there in front of you. So speaking of Lindsay after show, this portion of the show is going to be me ranting about Lindsay Lohan and the way she treats people in her life.
Yeah, you're not happy. You're
upset.
You're angry.
Last
Go ahead.
week, I said nothing but nice things about Lindsay. I said I think she's doing a great job, and that I'm going to hold her accountable if she starts fucking up. Excuse me. She screwed up this week. I don't understand what the deal is, but just to remind everybody what went down, Lindsay went to LA. AJ, her life coach, went out on a limb for her on her connections wise. Like, she got Lindsay in touch with people that she is professionally involved with, and she opened up her home to Lindsay while she was in LA to let her stay with her. And what does Lindsay do? Lindsay goes to LA, doesn't stay with AJ, doesn't get in touch with her at all, and flakes out on that meeting with Devon Franklin.
I think the best part of these shows are when it goes black and then there's the text comes up because that's all the real tea right
Yeah.
there. I mean, that's the best part is just what's listed up because that really shows like Lindsay showing one thing and then this text is really giving you the real reality that she basically went to LA, like you said, and blew everybody off. No one saw her. She wouldn't allow them to film, and that was it.
Well, and it's interesting that something so simple set Lindsay off with all of this, and that is before Lindsay went to LA, she met up with AJ, and they were planning their trip, and AJ was being very nice and straightforward and asked her if she had been drinking because Dina told her Lindsay was drinking. And Lindsay's response was, from my mother who was also drinking. So it's interesting how, I mean, I guess I would be suspicious of Lindsay regardless of how she responded because if she denied it right away, I'd be like, oh, she was. She was so
Well,
quick to say no.
That's the thing about
But-
them. They never really deny. They just
Yes.
kind of just manipulate around the
Yes.
situation, and they don't confront it and don't accept. They accept whether they're guilty or not. They accept no responsibility,
Correct.
and that's typical. There you go.
Well, and it's so, to be fair, I took Lindsay's side a little bit on this because Lindsay was upset that AJ would ask her such a controversial question on camera when Lindsay has made it very clear that she doesn't like to talk about her sobriety on camera. Mind you guys, this is a documentary about Lindsay Lohan getting sober, and she does not want to talk about her sobriety. So,
Right,
still wondering if she was actually paying attention when she signed the contract for this show.
I know. I mean, she even was talking about her friends that she keeps off camera. So we're not even
Yes.
seeing that aspect of her life. We're not seeing her do work. We're not let into any of these real psychological sessions. Again, she's not working. So what is she doing? So we saw her shopping with her mother. And that was really, yeah, I mean, really though, we break down the episode, what we saw Lindsay do and actually go about doing things. We really started to shop with her mother. It wasn't until the black screen came up with the text that really anything moved this along.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I told you throughout the episode, I was like, this feels exactly like we're back to episodes 1 through 3. Because last episode, so much happened because so much didn't happen in the first 3 episodes.
I don't even like her apartment. Like, I really just don't even want to see it. Like, I really am not interested in hanging out in her apartment all day.
We are so salty towards Lindsay right now. I mean,
I don't like it. I don't want to live there.
I can only imagine how the people that are actually in her life trying to help her feel. Because we're just an audience, and I feel bitter towards her about the way she's treating other people. Imagine if you actually have to truly interact with her every day, and you want to help her. And so I want to jump back into this AJ thing. AJ wanted to help her, and we know AJ Johnson. We know what kind of a person she's like. She's not mean. She's in Lindsay's life to help her.
Right. She wasn't there to she wasn't there for camera time like her father was when they went to the pizza parlor.
Right.
It was obvious that was it out of tune though for her to bring that up on camera?
That's what I ask you, because I feel like I feel like it was, although it's silly that, to me, I find it silly that Lindsay doesn't want to talk about her sobriety when she agreed to a documentary about her getting sober. But putting that aside, respecting Lindsay's wishes, AJ of all people would know that that Lindsay would not like to talk about that on camera. So I'm trying to figure out what her reasoning was for talking about that on camera. You know what I mean? Do you think that by cornering Lindsay on camera, it would force her to be honest?
A little bit, I think, you have a point there. I was gonna say I think she's just really comfortable with Lindsay at this point, and they've talked about so much stuff that maybe because even Lindsay admitted they talked about things off camera that she would only talk about off camera, and she would talk about things with Michael that she would only talk with Michael, the sober coach, with. So I feel like at this point, maybe her dialogue with AJ up to this point has really been kind of extreme. So something like, oh, there was, did you have a glass of wine? Maybe at this point, AJ is so shocked by everything she's been hearing that something like that she doesn't view as a big deal, and that's why maybe it's okay to bring up on camera. But Lindsay is afraid of confrontation. She thinks that anything could damage her at this point. She doesn't want to talk about anything on camera.
That's interesting. So it's almost like you feel like AJ's so jaded by the way she's had to interact with Lindsay that it's not as big of a deal. I think
AJ's heard a lot of stuff that Lindsay's done, and so this glass of wine, if we're talking about serious drugs here, and then there's a glass of wine on this end.
Yes, I agree. I would rather Lindsay sip a glass of wine than stick a needle in her arm.
Well, but also, but what I'm saying is, like, if they're talking about hard drugs off camera, then if they're gonna have to have this dialogue and there's 2 cameras in the room, then if she's gonna talk about anything, she's gonna bring up the wine.
Yeah, that's very true. So that's a good point.
That's probably what I think. Yeah, and I agree with you as well.
Yeah. Well, you guys tell us what you think. Do you think it was inappropriate for AJ to bring that up to Lindsay on camera? I'm curious. For some reason, I am siding with Lindsay on that. However, I am not siding with Lindsay on her actions after that conversation, because Lindsay went to LA, and like we said, she didn't stay with AJ. She completely ignored getting in contact with her. And then her excuse for not showing up to the meeting with Devon, which was possibly a career-changing moment for her.
Definitely.
She flew across the country to meet with this person who took the time out to talk with her on the phone and then make time in their schedule for her. And she sleeps until noon, and she has a meeting at 12:30? I mean, lazy. And that makes me wonder, is she drinking? Because I only sleep till noon if I've had a bottle of wine the night before. You know what I mean? And even if I go to bed at 4 a.m, I still, wouldn't the sunlight wake you up? Wouldn't something wake you up?
How bad does she want it? I mean,
Exactly.
She's there. She's got the meeting.
I'm so mad right now.
Pick up your phone and put on an alarm. You don't even need to just press Siri and say, Siri, wake me up at 9 a.m.
Yes.
That gives you more than enough time to take a shower and then beat the LA traffic, go to Culver City or wherever it was.
Chug a Red Bull if you're tired. Get it together. Go to that meeting.
Get it together. I think that's the theme of this whole episode. Just get it together.
But the thing is, she has so many people in her life that are helping her get it together.
Well, they're all starting to.
But she's pushing them away.
Yeah, they're all starting to leave.
Michael's contract or whatever. His agreement with Lindsay was done, but she still talks to him. But she pushes Matt and she pushes AJ, and I don't understand it. It's like the minute she realizes that somebody's holding her accountable, or she feels uncomfortable with the way something's panning out with them, she just pushes them away.
Right. Well, I think I get it. I think this was a girl who, from a very young age, had people doing so much for her. And we see this with the celebrities who are child actors or child musicians.
Yeah.
And then once all of that control is away and they're adults, they really don't know what the hell to do and how to handle situations, how to handle high stress, and really manage their life.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's had so many people manage it that at this point, like, she needs to get it together. She needs to like make it up as you go along, because the hand holding, she refuses to hold the person's hand. So it's like, what do you want?
I'm so frustrated with Lindsay.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, it's also interesting to me how casually she talks about missing that meeting. You know, she's just like, oh, I slept till noon, and then I realized that I was just late and I just shut down. It's like, okay, so did you call and apologize? Did you try and reschedule? Did you call AJ? Maybe she could have helped you through this situation.
Well, it sounds like the man was going to meet with her again.
Yes.
But she's lucky.
And then while she was in LA, I believe, was when the tabloids snapped a photo of her reaching for what looks like a bottle of wine, although she claims she was reaching for her purse.
I looked back. That photo was taken 5 months ago. It was posted on TMZ about 5 months ago.
Okay.
So I'm trying.
That would make sense with when this was being shot.
I'm trying to gauge this show and the production, and like the dates. I'm just trying to look at the timeline. Like, how old is this that we're looking at? I mean, is everything we're looking at now so out of date? But I mean,
Well, no, because a lot of
ago.
time has passed throughout the show. I mean, the first episode was 4 days out of rehab, and then this episode started 71 days out of rehab.
Right.
So that's a lot of time
And we
to
heard,
shoot 8 episodes when you think about it.
And we heard that Michael. No, never. We heard that there were changes, basically, which we can get into in news and gossip later. But there were changes like right after filming stopped.
Yes.
So filming must have stopped more recently, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the timeline, because if this is all old news, then it's like not as fun to talk about.
I know, exactly.
But I think she's still a mess.
So to wrap up how this episode went, it left me feeling very unsettled. Lindsay was hiding up in her apartment and wouldn't let AJ come up or the film crew. And it's interesting because the day before was when AJ met with Lindsay for the first time after coming back from LA. And AJ kept asking her the question, did you meet any new people? Which was a little confusing to me. The way that AJ continued to ask it made me think AJ knew something and was trying to get Lindsay to admit it. But Lindsay just kept saying, no, I'm not at a point in my life to make new friends. But I feel like maybe AJ was asking that because she heard Lindsay was out, like out at a club or out drinking. What do you think she would keep asking that for?
Is this where was this, at the bistro?
The chocolate
Okay.
place. When Lindsay went up to go get a cigarette, she's like, I hate it when she does that.
Yeah, it's just like digging. I think that they were probably really comfortable with one another. Or AJ thought she was really comfortable with Lindsay, and she could just ask these questions. I don't know if I really don't think that AJ was doing it to be like newsy and to be a pain in the ass.
It felt a little accusing. Like, why would she ask that question so many times?
Which question again?
Did you meet any new people? Do you remember how she just kept saying, so did you meet anybody new out in LA? And Lindsay would go, no, I don't want to meet new people. I'm not in that point.
That's the only thing you can ask without saying, like, so who did you hang out with? Were you with like old friends? Were you with people who were drinking? Were you with like drug dealers? Like, who were you with? And that's the only thing you can ask without really being accusatory, I guess.
Yeah.
And not judging and trying to really just kind of be like stepping just close enough to the fire. She's smart. A lot of things, and that's why I don't know if I could really let someone like that in, like AJ, into my life so much, because I feel like every word that you say, she's listening and watching and looking at the motivation behind why you feel this way and why, what you think about this and your view. And I just feel like almost like I couldn't consider someone like that a friend.
Yeah, I think it's funny that, maybe for her own comfort level, Lindsay wants to consider her a friend. be able to open up to somebody. But I feel the same way. If I had a life coach, I would keep it, that's my life coach.
Yeah.
Sure, you tell them everything because they are your life coach, but I would sort of keep a strict relationship there as well. But we are not Lindsay Lohan, so...
Who knows? Again, I've said it like every week. Like, imagine the amount of people that this girl has worked with, all the time she's been in and out of rehab, and then dealing with all these other problems and the prosecutors and all these things. I mean, how many people in her circle are really just there, either collecting a paycheck or trying to get information?
It's the same thing every week. I always wonder who are Lindsay's friends. Who, like, does she have any? I just don't understand it. And with this episode leads us with AJ not being allowed to come up into Lindsay's apartment, and AJ says it's time for me to go. We see her get in a cab and leave. And then Lindsay, during her interview with the camera, she says she felt disrespected that AJ would ask her questions on camera, like, were you drinking? And then the question where she was kind of digging at her in LA. Like I said before, I feel like Lindsay pushes people away once they try to hold her accountable. And the only person she can't push away is Oprah.
That's it. No, I really think you're spot on. I mean, this girl won't accept responsibility for anything, and that's in her blood, it's in her DNA, it's in her makeup. You know, a leopard can't change their spots after a certain age. I mean, she's a woman now, and this really, you can't really change that. And if you do, you have to really want it. And there's no way this girl is really going to be able to want to change her, like, her makeup and her personality. Because she's got enough to deal with. So she is just going to keep falling into that habit. And
it's always excuses. There's never an apology.
Never
an apology.
We all
always
know
an
those
excuse.
people. We all know those people who
Dina's
will
the same
never
way.
say, I'm sorry, or I will take blame, or anything like that. And she's one of them.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I would have thought that Lindsay would have at least learned that, but I guess you can't change.
No, I don't
Teach
think
an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, I really just don't think so. I mean, especially, this is a girl who's had a lot of teams probably behind you, like PR teams, and she sees how her parents do things. And I mean, that's just all she knows.
Yeah. Well, next week should be an interesting episode because we see Lindsay hanging out with her friends, and she says to the camera, I don't have a problem hanging out with my friends who drink. So next episode could be interesting. There's only 3 left. 3 left.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah. So we're over halfway through this series, and I feel like she hasn't changed much.
Did you want to discuss a news?
Yes. You have some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Well, you actually tweeted this news out, so I'll go for it.
I did. I stumbled upon an article. Forgive me, I don't have it in front of me, but I know that it reported earlier this week, Lindsay fired her assistant or he quit.
Let me review real quick.
I know. I think she let him go.
Yeah, it's left her. According
He
to
left
Paris
her?
Hilton. Yeah.
So here's what happened. From what I read in the article, it made it sound like Lindsay couldn't keep him around anymore, and he was only meant to be there for the filming of the show.
Right. Well, here's what the source says.
Yes.
They say Lindsay would love to have Matt back as her assistant, but she just can't afford him. He did a really good job for her. ... He is extremely professional and very good at his job. And then the source went on to say working for Lindsay is difficult and chaotic would be an understatement. But we all know this.
Yeah.
Anyone would imagine working with her would be difficult. I mean, we questioned her. We questioned it today a lot. I mean,
yeah. What is the validity of this assistant, this life coach? Like, did she seek them out and plan on having them in her life all the time, or was it just a facade for the show?
So let's look at at episode 1 when she came out. She had Matt, she had Michael, the sober coach, and then AJ. And now all these 3 people are gone. And
then there were none.
Yeah, and now leading into this next episode is just going to be Matt.
Yes.
So I mean, obviously she's probably going to get another assistant. I mean, she needs it. She needs it.
She needs a lot.
But I mean, who's in this girl's camp? Is she totally broke?
It's crazy. I'm very curious about that. Poor Matt, poor AJ, poor Michael, poor everybody that's tried to help her.
Poor Lindsay, too, apparently. She doesn't have any money.
Yeah, literally poor. I'm starting to feel like this is a lost cause, and it makes me really sad. Because I was hoping to, like, feel empowered by Lindsay through the show.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she's just never good. She's never going to give it up. She has no other life skills, really. I mean, this is not a girl, and anyone watching the show can see, this is not a girl who's going to say, you know what, I'm good. I think I'm going to get out of the city, and just move to middle America or just kind of just travel.
No.
She's not going to do it.
No.
So this is a girl who's going to be around for a long time.
All right. Well, as of now, Lindsay is assistantless as far as we know. So
Now accepting
curious how her-
applications.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move into predictions?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Why don't you go first, Grant?
Sure. So it looks like Lindsay is going to be, we're kind of going to see like Lindsay out and about, like we kind of get out of that apartment finally.
Yeah.
And so it looks like we're going to see like a night. And we really need to like see like a night, like what does Lindsay do when she goes out? Like what is she doing when she's not waking up at 11 a.m. or noon? So I'm really kind of excited to see that. It sounds like it's just going to be paparazzi chasing her the whole time and then she's going to be bitching and complaining. It sounds to me like it's going to be another episode of her having like toddler tantrums.
Yes.
That's my prediction.
That's a great, probably very accurate prediction. Now, this is something that I sort of touched on earlier, but I didn't follow through with my thought, was I'm hoping that this next episode will talk about Lindsay's relationships with men. Or women, I guess. She's
Who
had
knows?
both. But only because at the end of the episode, she did admit to saying that she had been dating somebody a month earlier who was drinking.
And she had the wine.
And she did drink, but it took her a month to admit it. And so I wonder if when we see her with her friends out, if we're going to see this past love interest. We don't know who he is.
Well,
or she.
Yeah, and not only that, but when there's another example when she was talking about having that glass of wine, she's like, yeah, I was just kind of like part of the lifestyle, like just part of like the group that I was with. That really wasn't like a big deal. But like if it's part of the lifestyle, like your lifestyle now is sobriety.
Yes.
Like I mean, you really can't throw it off as just anything. So there she goes again, making excuses and just being like,
Yes.
yeah, well, it was a glass. And I mean, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a severe addict and an alcoholic, and I wish we had Stephanie here.
I know, she
but
knows so much
I
about
know,
this stuff.
but can you really only stop at one glass of wine?
That's part of self-control. And I think that it's commendable to acknowledge that you screwed up and forgive yourself, and it looks like she's done that. But did she have just one glass of wine, and has she controlled herself since then? Is she only owning up to that one glass of wine, or is she now like, oh, I'm still sipping, but it's okay because I'm just sipping, I'm not chugging. You know what I
And then
mean?
there's a bottle in her apartment, like we mentioned that AJ had. And then
It's
we
not
saw her
necessary.
reaching
She
for the
doesn't need it.
bottle in Los Angeles. And unless if it's a case of, I'm not really drinking anymore, but occasionally I'll have a glass of wine. But I just don't know how an alcoholic could handle that.
Yeah.
You know, just one. They say you really can't just have one.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe I'm being too hard on her, so I wish I had somebody who knows more about working with addicts.
Right, I know,
When is it
me
okay to
too.
forgive yourself? But I just feel like if you have been an addict, that it should be zero. It should be cold turkey. You know, like I feel like it's easier to relapse if you let yourself just have one glass of wine. 'Cause
Right.
that is relapsing. But-
Exactly. I mean, this is her 7th time out of rehab.
Girl.
And like, we have a sober coach in the house.
Yeah, get
Like
it
it's serious
together.
now. Yes,
Yeah.
get it together.
AJ has said it before. All the tools or I think it was Michael said it. All the tools are right in front of her. It's just a matter of her using them. So, I think
And that's very telling right there, because if she was doing it, he wouldn't have said that. All she has to do is pick them up and use them.
Yeah.
If she was doing it,
He wouldn't have said that.
he would have said, yeah, well, I feel confident that, it's time for me to move on now, and Lindsay knows what to do. That would be the sign that she knew what to do.
That would be when the show ends, because
Mm-hmm.
then nothing interesting would happen, and we would just see Lindsay going to Trader Joe's,
Oh. But
being a
she-
nice, normal, sober
It'll
person.
never end. It'll never end.
Yeah. Well, hopefully next week is good for Lindsay, but juicy for us.
Yes, yes.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Kylie Hodges.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Grant Michael R.
Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.